Good afternoon, everybody. This is John Riggs with the Nebraska Tourism Commission, coming to you from beautiful downtown Lincoln today on a beautiful Cinco de Mayo day. It's about approaching 70 degrees outside, and what are we doing in here? Oh, we're here to teach and share stuff with you today. We have a lot of information for you today. We're doing some really exciting things. Some great things are coming up. Some great things have already started. But let's get some housekeeping going first. Throughout the session today, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, just email them to Angela Sears at nebraska.gov. Angela's sitting right over here, and when I get done, we'll have some Q&A. This shouldn't take any more than 4 hours. No, it won't take that long. The first thing we want to do today is, you're going to see this in hard copy pretty soon, coming out in a postcard to most of you or all of you. We want you to save the date. October 17th to 19th this fall is the Nebraska Tourism Conference. It's at the Embassy Suites Conference Center in La Vista. I have been working with the staff, with Karen and Lisa and a number of other people to put together one heck of a program for this year. And we'll preview a little bit about it today. I mean, one of the keynote speakers this year is somebody from USTA, United States Travel Association, who's going to come in and share with us what U.S. travel is up to on a national basis and on an international basis even, and also to help us better understand how we can tie into their programs and how what they do helps us out locally here in Nebraska. So get out your iPhones, your telephones, and your calendars, and be sure to block out October 17th to 19th. There's one heck of a program being put together, and we'd like to see you all there. Another thing that we have going on, and this starts next week, it's called National Travel and Tourism Week. We're going to have town hall meetings across the state, and I'll just leave these up here so you can read it. But I want to give you an idea of a couple of things. First of all, and I don't remember all these numbers, I have to read them. Understand, and I think the purpose of the Travel Tourism Week is to raise awareness of the importance of the travel industry in this country as a powerful economic engine. I'm going to give you the national numbers and Nebraska's numbers. The national ones are a little staggering to try to comprehend, but I'll share them with you anyhow. The U.S. travel economy generated more, or the travel industry generated more than $2.3 trillion in economic output last year. This is 2016 data. With $990 billion spent directly in domestic and international travelers, that spurred an additional $1.3 trillion in other industries. So the direct spend in tourism not only pays for everything we're familiar with, the events, the attractions, the accommodations, the restaurants, but it actually pushes into a variety of other allied industries, and that impact is significant. As importantly, it generated about 157.8 billion in tax revenue for state, local, and federal governments. And that translates this way, and this is how you can make it important to the people in your communities. Each U.S. household would pay $1,250 more in taxes without the tax revenue generated by the travel and tourism industry. That will get your attention. That will help you better understand what this industry is about. And direct spending by resident international travelers in the U.S. averaged $2.7 billion a day, 113 million an hour, and 1.5 million a minute, or $31,403 a second. That's on the national basis. Now for Nebraska, the numbers, on our scale, relative, are really impressive. Nebraska spent, international travelers and domestic travelers to Nebraska spent about $4.9 billion in 2015 and generated about $705 million state, federal, and local taxes. It's big money, everybody, and this is what we're going to be doing next week when we travel around the state, emphasizing these things and talking. Generates 47,400 jobs created by travelers to Nebraska, and that's about 6% of the state's total private industry employment. And these are numbers that we're around all the time at the tourism office. You probably are to some extent, but the people in your communities aren't. So this is the kind of information you need to communicate the importance of it. And as a matter of fact, at these town hall meetings that you're reading about, we're going to have a handout from USTA that's about Nebraska and about the national numbers because they're very exciting. And another interesting fact is for every million spent by Nebraska, in Nebraska by domestic and international travels, almost 10 jobs are created. So what the industry's been able to do with the help of USTA is better understand all the impacts, and they've translated them down to the grassroots level. So you're not talking trillions of dollars, which again is really hard to comprehend. You're talking numbers that for every million spent, there's 10 jobs generated. And that's the importance of tourism as an economic driver. And you'll hear more about that as we travel the state. So let's get on a little bit more about these meetings. We're going to be leaving on May 9th, and we're going to be in Nebraska City, and here's the time schedule. Be there at 9 a.m., we're going to be in McCook at 3, and the 10th we're going to be in Gering, then we're going to go on to Columbus, Bellevue, and North Platte. And what's important about these meetings is, for me, and you've heard me say this before, I'm 4 months old on Monday in this position, and I've been doing a lot of listening. So I have, yes, been traveling to a lot of different places, but during this celebration week, it's even more important because what we want to do is I'm going to share some information with you. I'm going to share some of the things that I'm going to be talking in a few minutes with you in a few minutes. But the most important thing is for me to sit and listen. So we're calling them, they're basically public meetings, they're basically town halls, and we'll give some information and we'll give some things about what's going on, but what the most important thing to us is to hear from you. So any concerns, any ideas, I'd like to make most of that hour a brainstorming session, and we'll have staff there to capture these things so together we can move forward with the ideas you have and helping to solve any issues you might have. So these are really important coming up next week, and we're going to be at it for a whole week traveling around. Another important thing I want to spend a few minutes on today is giving you a marketing update. In other words, what does the season looks like so far? And it's early, it hasn't really even started yet. But when we launch programs, our staff has kind of their finger on the pulse of what's happening out there. So I want to share some of those things with you today, and because we'll be reporting on these in a variety of different ways. But one of the first things you look at is website traffic. And that's an indicator of intent. That's people saying, hey, we're kind of interested in going to Nebraska this year, and they go onto the website and they're searching around and doing whatever. 20% a year increase year over year is huge. That means that's a good indicator. That means people are looking, that there's something happening out there. And there's a lot of things. There's a sesquicentennial, there's the eclipse, there's a variety of other things that we've been pushing. And just as an early on indicator, when traffic is up 20% on your website, that means people are shopping and you're on their shopping lists. Another really important thing is that, and I looked at PR as the glue that holds everything together, because we can't advertise all the time. I don't think any state can really advertise every day of the week. So we have to flight or invest that money, and you'll see something about that in a minute. So we need this PR to act as the glue to hold everything together. And already we've generated about $1 million, $950,000 in PR ad value year to date. And that's with 40 TV and radio newspaper interviews already created this year and already out there in the marketplace. So we help seed the conversation that's going on, but we're at $1 million in ad value already, which is very great. Travel guides, I wouldn't expect travel guides to start yet, and I'm going to show you how we're going to bump those in a minute, but and you'll see if you go to the website and other places, we're promoting it in social channels to request the guide. And again, I think many of you heard me say this, is that people who request the visitor guide convert the best. And what that means is they actually come and visit and spend money. And we'll do this research, but from other places I've been, from that research, and it's fairly consistent from the different states I've worked in, we know that they spend more and they stay longer. So these people are prime. So we want to get the visitor guide in the hands of many people as we can, because they come. And they've told us they bring guides with them, and while they're here, they search for other things to do. So that's what we want. We want to get their attention. We want to get them a guide. They'll come, and they actually use it as a tool when they're here. And while all that is happening, our campaign's actually kicked off. In print, we're running ads in these publications: True West, Midwest Living. It's a typo. I did that, excuse me. Country Living, Endless Vacation, Home and Away, Parents, Trains, Colorado Life. And what you'll see when we're talking to you today is we use any medium possible to help us get our job done. So we don't like one or the other. We're kind of agnostic that way. But what the key is, again, is to knit these media together so we can create the greatest impact. And we'll be talking about that as we go along. But that's what's happening so far in print. And then we have another layer of digital that's running on YouTube, and we're using Google AdWords, TripAdvisor, retargeting, which basically means when somebody comes to visit us, we capture them and we target things back to them, which is very effective. And that's manifest this way. If you're ever online and you go to a site and then all of a sudden you go to another page and you see an ad all of a sudden sitting there and it's from the same people and you're wondering why or how that got there, that's retargeting. So we can actually follow you around, if you will. We can actually follow that consumer in whatever market around once they come to our site. It's pretty slick. Our involvement in social media is like never before. Social media is right now, it's an immediate. People respond, people share it. It's kind of, just walk around and look at people with their phones. They're pushing stuff all over the place. They're commenting, they're sharing, they're liking, and our program is probably seeding more than ever before that kind of activity, and that's really exciting. Another thing is, you're familiar with the Through My Eyes campaign. You'll see more of that in a minute. But we've already had 104,000 video views on Facebook of those videos. We've added 2,000 fans to Facebook since January 1st. And understand that we don't really go after fans. You can actually go and do programming or programs to create likes and things, but this is kind of, people go something, they like it, or they become a fan of the site and they share things out. That's what's cool about the social channels, and the Through My Eyes videos are really getting a lot of play out there. Video views on YouTube is almost 120,000 on the YouTube, which is significant. And just look at it this way. When we say television, we'll be talking about that in a minute. That's just another way of broadcasting. It's just a broadcast medium. It's another way of broadcasting. You're not sitting down in front of your TV, but this TV goes along with you. All you have iPhones or some kind of way to watch it. So this is significant, 120,000 impressions that way. Most popular video is the Omaha Zoo, 72,000 views. The Doorly Zoo is obviously world-renowned, so that is kind of expected, but we're going to keep pumping it because it's a very huge attractor for the state. Another exciting thing that we've done, and you've heard me talk about this before, is how do we target markets and how can we go out and take some of the dollars we've had and go out of state more rather than investing only in state. And starting next week or very soon after that, we're launching a campaign, cable, out-of-home advertising in our top markets. And I'll tell you how we've determined these in a minute, but where we're going to go is Des Moines, Springfield, Mo, Kansas City, and Denver. Campaigns will run from about 5/8 to 6/24. That 6-week period is the perfect time to be in the marketplace, raising the awareness of Nebraska so you get on people's shopping lists. The summer travel season, if you will, has gone deeper, and what I mean by that is in some states, past couple I've worked in, actually September's as big as June now. So being here in this market, this is still planning season, so we can still get on people's lists that way. So let's get into, I don't want to take you through a whole bunch of the details, but I want you to understand as we start targeting markets out of state, what our thinking and approach is. And it'll make more sense to you. Like I said before, Des Moines, Springfield, Kansas City, and Denver, they're going to run from about early May through the end of June. Perfect planning season for us to get on people's shopping lists. And these are more focused, targeted efforts to spot markets. And what a spot market is basically this. They're called designated marketing areas. There's 210 of them on a national basis. So we don't really go after states. We want to go even more finely than that in our targeting. So we've identified markets, or DMAs, if you will, with the highest propensity to create visitation or produce visitation. And we do this in a couple of ways. We spent a couple months going through a variety of different data we have, and these, I just want to tell you the components so you kind of understand where it comes from. First of all, when people request a guide and we send it to them, obviously we capture everything we can about them. Certainly their address so we can send them to them. That makes sense. We request email address and phone number. People will give us different mixes of that. Some people will give us all three. People will give us their address, no phone number, no email. So there's a whole variety of things. Obviously, the most important thing that we use in this analysis is their home address and their zip code. So we use zip code from guide orders as one of the factors. Also now, we have the website sitting out there, and you know that we push everything we can to that website because that's the biggest hub of content and information about Nebraska that they can find. They can search through it, they can look by interest, and any variety of ways they can slice and dice the content we have there. So with Google Analytics now, we are also able to take that visitor to the site and source where they've come from by those designated marketing areas. So we also then take that web visit information and throw it into this analysis. So we have guide orders and web visits as kind of the indicators of intent. And what I mean by that is these are people who are saying, hey, I'm interested some way. I've requested the guide, which is a pretty big indicator of intent, and I've even visited your website to get a little deeper into these things while I, for example, wait for my guide to come. I'm playing on your website. So those are really good indicators of intent. We're on their shopping list. We're in their consideration set, if you will. A third factor that we put in there is information from MRI, Media Research Inc., is a media planning operation or media buying tool is the best way to understand it. And it's an ongoing research effort that answers a variety of different questions about a variety of different categories. So in travel, they ask people, where did you visit last year? So they don't do it for every state. They kind of couple or group states, if you will. We're grouped with only Kansas. Some other states are grouped with more other states, so it's more difficult to use that information because you don't really know which state they're talking about. But we're grouped with only Kansas, which is fortunate. So this information is pretty reliable. Did you visit Kansas or Nebraska? And we can also use that information. So the first two, the guide orders and visits, are intent. This is somewhat actual visitation. This helps us as to add another factor and get closer to an actual trip and identifying it in an actual way that we can index and understand which markets to go to. And the final factor is we've just started a partnership with Hotel and Lodging Association, and what they're doing is they're going out to their membership, and again, we want their zip information. Can you provide us the zip codes of people who stayed in your properties? And we don't need name, we don't need address. As a matter of fact, they're not going to give those to us anyhow, so we don't ask. All we need is the zip code, because then again, you can see what we're doing here. Intent to the visitor information provided by MRI gets us a little closer, and adding information on the zip codes of actual visitors to the state helps us really get as tight as we can down to being able to forecast. So in identifying Des Moines, Springfield, Kansas City, and Denver, and I think those are 4 of the top 6 markets that have more than about 450,000 households and up, because we want to go at big markets, we need volume. So that's what we've done there. This is really exciting. It'll start again early May, and this is kind of the impact we're looking for. Again, we're focusing on what we consider right now the best markets, and that might change when we get this other information from Hotel and Lodging, but it's the best information we have now, and it's really reliable. The other thing we want to do is make sure we layer media, and what I mean by that is we have the ability to take television. You've already heard me talk about some digital things, then social media, and then PR, and now we're also adding out of home. So this kind of gives you an idea of the impressions we'll be creating in the marketplace. And they're big. I mean, if you look at Des Moines television, there's about 2.5 million impressions over that short period of time. And what helps you understand a little bit better what an impression is we also listed the number of commercials. So we're going to be running over 4,000 commercials in the Des Moines market, the Des Moines DMA, which is a lot of commercials in a 6-week period. Springfield Mo, you can just run down and see. Springfield's about 3,000 commercials. Kansas City is a bigger base, a bigger population base. So we're going to be about 5.4 million impressions with 3,700 commercials. Denver, which is the largest market around here, it's about 1.6 million in households. So we're going to have about 10.5 million impressions, 3,900 commercials. And then what we're also doing in the bigger markets, in Kansas City and Denver, where they have a lot of highways coming in, a lot of congestion and things, we're putting outdoor there. And what that does is outdoor serves as a way to just keep pounding on people when they're driving home. People drive the different ways. The signs are going to be placed in different places. So we'll have a continual exposure to them, and that adds what they call frequency to the program. So they might see a TV commercial, they might see something on Facebook, and then they're driving to work and they'll see something else. So that's the concept of layering. And the research I've been involved in says the more you can layer, the more awareness you can create, and the more successful your program are going to be. So basically the bottom line is, in this 6-week period, we'll generate over 50 million impressions in these key markets. And the cool thing is that we'll have Des Moines, then we'll have Springfield, and we'll have Kansas City, and then we're also able to add Denver over to the west. So we'll have our state pretty well boxed in terms of destinations close by that have already that contain people who've already expressed some kind of an interest in visiting Nebraska. So that's really cool. Have I mentioned the tourism conference coming up yet? Remember, write it down. Don't pencil it in, ink it in, or enter it in your iPhone. October 17th to 19th, La Vista, the Embassy Suites, and I want to give you another little preview of what's happening. Tourism is an economic development tool, and it's an economic driver. It also helps economic or business development and quality of life efforts in the state. And there's a research firm called Longwoods International, and we're going to have a guest from Longwoods at the conference, and he's going to share with us what's called now the halo effect. And what they've been doing with tourism economics and other people is they've proven in the past couple of years that destination promotion, tourism marketing in the marketplace actually has a halo effect. In other words, it enhances the effectiveness of business development efforts. In other words, people will be interested in moving there to take a job, or moving their businesses there, or going to college there, or things. So we're working very closely with this, and so all the tourism people out there, you should be here for sure, and also invite your local economic development people, because George Zimmerman, who's the chairman of Longwoods and has been working very close with this research, is going to be there, and he's going to walk us through and show us the importance and where it all comes from, but the importance of destination marketing as a tool that the perceptions that creates helps overall economic development efforts. Really important. Save the date. Now I want to go and just give you an update on some other things. I'm sure many of you have seen the grant program out there. We did something new with the grant program this year for a couple of reasons, and we talked about this in one of the recent webinars, but I'm just going to repeat it so you know what's going on. We have a lot of co-op and a lot of different opportunities for the industry to participate in, and that's part of our job, is to create programming and help you get involved in it. And we've created a new Facebook promotion thing, which we've had a lot of the people in the 44 grant applications we've just received by the April 24th deadline, which worked really well. We have a lot of people looking to that. So we took all the programs, our co-op, which means the magazines you saw before, we have co-op programs in there where you can run ads with us. In other words, we'll take you places that you can't afford by yourselves, so will help direct you to these things. So that's what the concept of a directed grant program came to. So we wanted to get that out there. We wanted to make it as affordable as possible. And what I mean by that is we took advertising in the travel guide. We took advertising on the site on visitnebraska.com. We took our email program, we took our leads program, and put them all into the grant program to make them as affordable as possible. So what happens there then is that we have a variety of different programs, and we introduced a couple new ones, and what we wanted to do there is start the process of identifying which programs you, the industry, think are most beneficial for you and the ones that you are interested in putting your dollars into. So we're in the process of that. We've had 44 grant applications. I have a stack this thick that I have to review over the weekend, because we're going to do that on May 12th, and they're going to be awarded by May 18th, because we want to get this money in the marketplace now to complement the other program that I just told you about and the other things that we're doing. So the grant program, really, really excited that we had so many people, so many grant applications. We had a lot of questions about different programs and things, but we're excited about that. That's great participation. And one of the bigger, not only is it going to help you get into the marketplace better, one of the bigger things we're going to learn from it is which programs are most valuable to you. So we're going to pare down the number of programs, because in other travels I've done throughout the state, people have said, we don't know really which ones to pick, and there's so many of them we don't know what to do. So we're going to hone that down and help focus and direct those efforts moving into the future. So the grant program is huge coming up. The passport program is really kicking off. Started, this is only the 5th, it started the 1st, that was Monday, I'm losing track of time. But this thing is so popular. I actually got my first stamp in the state capitol the other day, which was kind of exciting. I'm not going to promise this, but it'd be really cool to get all 80 of them this year. But look at what's happening. Total passport requests is 11,500, which is huge. We've distributed about 8,000 of the passport guides to the stops themselves. The app is out there, refurbished, redone, and is more user-friendly and fun. we have almost 500 requests from out-of-state areas, and we've already distributed 19,500 of the 24,000 guides we request. Now that makes sense. We want them into the marketplace as soon as possible because they have to start using them because they have through September to do that. But what the interesting thing is to have that many distributed already at the beginning shows us that there's a lot of interest in it. It's a really popular program, and this is the tool as we move money to out-of-state markets. This is the tool that we're going to use to kind of hold down, if you will, in-state by having Nebraskans and people who visit them, because visiting friends and family is big here. But it's the tool we're going to use internally, in-state, to move Nebraskans around, and they do a lot of it, and you know that. So the Passport program's up to a real exciting and great start. Also, as summer comes on, from May 18th through September 10th, we're helping staff 15 welcome centers across the state. I won't read them all to you, but they're up on the screen right now. Importance of this. There's 500,000 to 600,000 people who stop at these places annually. I don't know, I know from past, because we haven't done the research here yet, but we'll get to it. But again, from my past experience, people who stop at welcome centers generally find something else to do on the planned trip here. And I think in another state I worked in, it added at least 1 to 2 nights to a stay, because when they're there, they can talk to a travel counselor and get different ideas because they're looking. And then we can better, because we're talking face-to-face with people, we can better direct them so they can find more things to see and do. And the more things, the more we increase that list of things to see and do, generates a room night. They have to look for somebody to stay, somewhere to stay. We can't get this all done in a day, dear. Let's stay a couple more days. That kind of thing. And that's why these are important, and that's why staffing them is important. Another thing here, Michael Collins is obviously the contact in our office, and here's his email address down there. And he wanted me to point out that the guidelines on how to distribute travel literature to centers during the season is all at this link. And also what's there is your 2016 end of season inventory is found there. It's there. So you'll know when you come to the next event, which is the Brochure Swap in May 15th and 16th North Platte, you'll have a better idea on what kind of volumes to bring with you to exchange with people. Which leads us right to here. The Brochure Swap is in North Platte on 16th to 17th. There's no registration fee except for meals for the members of the association. And as you can see, it's going to include a variety of different things: Western Nebraska meeting, NACVB meeting, have a dinner at Pal's Brewing Company, which is new there, community. The gist of it all is the swap itself. We're going to have a town hall meeting as part of this whole thing, there to talk with the industry in the community. So again, when you're coming to this, you'll also have another opportunity to sit and talk with us about and brainstorm ideas. We should be doing this. Could you fix that? All those kinds of things. We want to hear about everything possible, and you are kind of getting the drift that I can talk a lot. I don't want to do a lot of talking. I want to set the stage and ask questions and hear from you. So come armed with your questions and your good ideas. For more information about the Brochure Shop, Laura Young from Beatrice, there's her email address. I'll leave it up there for a minute more. If you have any questions, it's a great opportunity to not only do the Brochure Swap, but early on as the season starts on, to get together with people, share ideas, and figure out what's going on for this summer. Another thing we have going on in the office is ecotourism. And Alex Duryea on our staff, there's his contact information. Call him, email him, catch him in any way with ideas. But these are the upcoming things. The Cowboy Ultra is on May 20th. I've been teasing him. It's only a 194-mile run. I keep teasing him about okay, are you going to do it, or are you just going to only do the 150 or so? And he just looks at me in a real strange way, which is okay. Ecotourism and Citizen Science webinar, May 22nd at 2 p.m. Alex and Adam Jones from Game and Parks are going to be here. And don't forget, it's only 107 days to the eclipse. It'll be really exciting. That's what's going on with ecotourism. Then looking ahead is another Save Your date, and this is really an exciting event. Next April 18th to 20th in Kearney is the Plains Safaris, which I think is a phenomenal concept. It's a conference on conservation in the Great Plains. That's going to be combined with our ecotourism conference, and it's one next year, so we're combining things, combining forces. Are going to be speakers from across the country and here who know everything about what's going on with plains safaris and conservation and ecotourism moving forward. And finally, did I mention the Save the Date thing yet? Okay. All right. See, what's really fun about doing it in a webinar, and there's not really an audience, you can't throw anything at me, I can't hear your whistles or anything like that, but again, save the date, October 17th to 19th. In addition to somebody from U.S. Travel talking about the industry and what that association is doing for us locally and how we can tie into their programs, and in addition to Longwood's coming and talking about the halo effect, we're going to have a variety of different hands-on workshops for you to learn from. And I've always gotten the most out of these conferences. I mean, yes, the keynotes are great, excuse me, the sessions are great as learning experiences, but the coolest thing is when you sit down with somebody you don't know, or sit down with somebody you've always wanted to talk to and exchange ideas and brainstorm about the things you're learning there. That networking starts connecting this web of interested people across the state, and we can make those ties stronger. So don't forget the conference. Now, I'm going to give you this. If you have any questions, I'm about on time, which is really scary. Email them to Angela Sears. But what I want to show you is a couple of the commercials. I think you've seen the Through My Eyes stuff, the Through My Eyes commercials before. We made a little change to them because, like I said before, we're really focusing, and we've really made them more direct response. We want consumers in those markets that I mentioned before to request travel guides. So we made the end of the commercials we added a very much stronger call to action. And you'll see what I mean, and we'll just look at them one at a time. Let's start with the most popular one.
If you could see Nebraska through my eyes, you'd see a home. You'd see a place where you can work, have fun, and learn at the same time. Actually, you wouldn't just see, you would feel and hear that. If you could see Nebraska through my eyes, you'd see a home. You'd see a place where you can work, have fun, and learn at the same time. Actually, you wouldn't just see, you would feel and hear them, giving back the same energy you give to them. My name is Mandy, and this is Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium through my eyes.
For a free Nebraska travel guide, go to visitnebraska.com.
If you could see Nebraska through my eyes.
So, in the first one, and I'll play Toadstool in a minute. So what you see we did at the end of it, it's a direct response thing. It basically says, it tells them, and there's a superimposed on the commercial that says, free Nebraska guide, travel guide, go to the website. And the voiceover says the same thing, because we want to make sure that people understand that they can become involved in this. They can learn about that zoo in this case, and they can become, they're already in markets that already expect some kind of intent. We want to give them an invitation. Learned a long time ago from one of my mentors in the program is that if you don't invite people, they're not coming. So we're inviting them, and we're making it as easy as possible to get the visitor guide in this case. And we've already mentioned how important visitor guides are.
If you could see Nebraska through my eyes, you would see untold stories in a vast, rugged range. You would see a place of raw nature, filled with color and texture, a world of natural ruins. My name is Derek, and this is Toadstool Geologic Park through my eyes.
For a free Nebraska travel guide, go to visitnebraska.com.
If you could see
Same thing there. Stronger call to action. And see what we have here is we have the zoo in Omaha, which is a leading national, international attraction. And then we have another kind of twist on things. We have Toadstool, which is in another part of the state, a different consumer, a different reason to come, and a different through my eyes story entirely. So what we're going to be able to do, because we can run different commercials in those markets, we'll, quote, flight them. In other words, we'll run certain commercials in some markets and then flip them, and we can see, because we'll be watching about web traffic generated and guides requested and things. And then the final one we did,
If you could see Nebraska through my eyes, you'd see the Panhandle. And to the north, you'd look right up the Platte River and see the whole Mitchell Valley. And if you turned around, you'd see the outskirts of the Rocky Mountains. You'd see your breath being taken away and history like you've never seen it before. My name is Cher, and this is Scottsbluff National Monument through my eyes.
For a free Nebraska travel guide, go to visitnebraska.com.
If you could see Nebraska through
so those are the 3 TV commercials. We're going to have outdoor that plays up one of those. And you can see that, again, what we're being able to do is feature a major attraction in the largest city in the state. We're able to take another kind of target audience and put him over at Toadstool and have him talk about that experience, which is going to connect with many people. And then the third one is a little older demographic, but active, out there, and history-based. So in just these 3 little commercials, we're going to be able to address all kinds of people in these 3 markets. So that's about what we have today. I don't know if you have any questions. Do we have questions?
Got a couple.
Okay.
Okay, so who should come to the conference? Elaborate on that a little bit more. Who
Okay.
would be interested in the conference?
Well, you've heard me talk about this before. There's the fun thing about tourism, and at the same time, the complex part of it is that we're one industry, but we're made up of a variety of different industries. There's no tourism store where you can just go get yourself a box of tourism. So everybody and anybody. And what I mean by that is, the logical ones are destination marketing organizations, be it a convention and visitor bureau, a chamber, those kinds of things. But also love to see more hotels, events, attractions, restaurants, the craft brewing industry, the spirits industry, the wine growers, the vintners, all those people, anybody involved in any way with tourism. And think as broadly as possible, because the goal of a conference like this, because all those industries are very much different. They have a lot of different interests in things. So the goal of it is to get all these people with their different interests who really affect one tourism industry up here and get them all into one room and share ideas and things. So, and like I said before, because we're an economic development driver and tourism promotion efforts have this halo effect, love to see more business development people there. Like we were in Norfolk the other day for our commission meeting, and there was a woman at the Northeast Association meeting with us. She wasn't in tourism, she's an economic development person from the area. And I said, make sure that you go and get other people in your business development side, because we'll show you how the image and the perceptions we create about Nebraska can affect how your communities can grow by drawing businesses and things.
The last question is about the choice of using TV. Some people are thinking that TV or cable is dead. Why do you think it's still a viable option?
TV and cable are not dead. You might watch a commercial, like I said before, on a different tool, if you will, but I can guarantee you that broadcast and cable TV are far from dead. As a matter of fact, and this is the tactic you have to make a decision about. In my experience, and it's been longer than 10 years, but in the past 10 years when these conversations have started about media dying away or something more important than TV, there is no stronger medium to generate immediate awareness when you're kicking off a campaign, and there isn't another medium out there that generates more guide requests than television. Hands down, no questions asked. We're going to be doing research that will show this, but in the most recent place I was in, we not only, excuse me, we not only looked at what sourced the request for the visitor guide, and it was television by a long lead, but we also looked at awareness by medium invested in. What I mean by that is we broke out, let me see, TV, print, digital, we didn't use radio, didn't use newspaper, but those kinds of things, and the awareness generated by television was always the highest. The interesting thing is, and this is just my learning, and it's my opinion, and if you were here you could disagree with me, and this is what we're going to have these meetings for out in the town halls, is that digital has always been promoted as that one-to-one and the click-through and all that. Well, the click-through experience in digital was talked about very early on and has really gone nowhere. There's not a lot of people clicking on these ads, but what digital really does a good job of is keeping the name of, in this case, Nebraska in front of people. Because like I said before, when you go to the website, we're going to follow you around. So no matter where that person goes, Nebraska's always going to be there. So, but in terms of creating immediate awareness, the most you can with the biggest impact at the kickoff of a campaign, which will then generate as many requests as possible, there's nothing better than television, and that's from experience in the last 3 places I've been, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and Colorado, and there's nothing that comes close. And I can show you numbers, and I'd be more than happy to visit with you when we're roaming around the state next week.
That's it.
Cool. So thanks very much. Have a wonderful Friday, have a great weekend, and go out there and do something fun in Nebraska. Thanks.